Well, I guess first I was going to ask you about, before I ask you about the players, just about, the new league you guys are in. What do you like about your conference, and what kind of challenges do you think it'll present?
I think anytime you move conferences or join a new one, it's an exciting time because you don't quite know what you don't have familiarity with all the teams. We're fortunate that we've played some of these teams the last few years, but we're excited about competing with teams and having a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. That's ultimately, from a recruiting standpoint, that's huge. We think that we stack up pretty well against the competition in the league, and it should be a really fun fall. The guys have put in a lot of work on their own over the summer and came into preseason ready to go. So.
And I know, obviously, last year you guys were, 8-9-2.
Yep.
What kind of, do you think you guys will improve on that this year? What's kind of the look? I wasn't sure how much you lost.
That's always the goal, and it's easier said than done. But, we had a little bit of a slow start last year. We lost a couple of close games, and then we got into October, and things really started to click for us. And then when we got to our conference postseason last year, we played some of the best soccer we played all year. So from a coaching standpoint, we're really happy about when we peaked. I think with, we have a pretty balanced non-conference schedule. We play some very strong teams, St. Lawrence, Plattsburgh, and then we play teams that we've been competing against for years that it's always a competitive game, the SUNY Polys of the world. We get to maintain all of our local rivalries as well with Clarkson and Potsdam on the schedule. So it's good for us to have that, and I think all those games are going to do a good job preparing us for what comes in conference play.
As far as the two guys I was going to talk to, I guess one of the first things I wondered was, did they both kind of commit here at the same time, or did you get one first and then the other came later?
The recruiting process, anytime you recruit multiple kids from one program, it's always a little bit of a balancing act. Kyle, there were 3 kids from Indian River that we were talking to. Kyle was the first one. We started talking to him when he was a junior in high school. We knew about Junior through our baseball coach, and we were fortunate. They played one of their first home games of the season was here on our turf their senior year. So it was a really easy recruiting trip to basically walk outside, and there was a third member, Tyler Cook, who finished up school last year and was one of our captains a year ago. But it was very separate recruiting experiences. There was never a big push on towards the end. It was, you come here, you're going to get a chance to play with guys that you've been playing with and maintain that strong bond. Tyler was actually the first one to commit, then Junior, then Kyle, but they all committed fairly early. But when we recruit, we do try to keep it an individual thing because each kid is looking for different things and what their long-term plans are.
I was curious about the program in general. Like, what did you like about the Indian River program? Because obviously where they come from matters too. So, what do you like about what they do?
Coach Levancia his kids know how to work. They might not always be the most technical players you'll find. In the case of these 3 kids, they had technical quality as well, but all 3 of them were tremendous workers. And from our standpoint, we're a very blue-collar team. Our guys have to roll their sleeves up and they've got to do some dirty work, and we wanted kids, and we continue to want kids that aren't afraid of that. So looking at the 3 of them, it worked out really well. All 3 came in as freshmen and played immediate roles in our program, and continue through their senior year.
And with the 2 attackers, I'm assuming they played together a lot in high school. How does it help when you can bring in people who are already teammates, as far as gelling quicker and stuff like that?
I wish you could ask some of our other guys on the team that question because they hate when the 2 of them are on the same team in practice because there's just that they know where the other guy is going to be. They know how to work off of each other. And we strive towards building those relationships throughout the team. But those 2 were fortunate that they had a 4-year head start on everybody else when they got here. And I think, anytime you see those 2 on the field, they don't even have to communicate with each other. They know where the other guy is going to be. And they're a step ahead of each other at times. So very rarely do signals get crossed.
I don't know how things work here, like if you have a role in where people stay, but did you want them to kind of be roommates with each other, or did you want to split them up so they'd get to know other people too? What was kind of your guys' thought process?
We actually, I encourage kids not to necessarily live with other guys on the team, simply because you're together 6 to 7 days a week as it is. Even on your day off, you're hanging out, you're you're in a lot of classes together, especially early on.
Oh, yeah.
And I look back on my college experience. I was randomly placed with my roommate. We ended up living together all 4 years and remained close friends. But it was because we had our separate groups of friends and we had separate class. We weren't together all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think for these two, it was one of those things where it's like, you guys have been together a lot already.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both outgoing enough kids that, it was never really a concern. We did mention that, hey, if you aren't sure about roommates, at least there's a safety valve here for you where, there's somebody but we did encourage them to branch out.
I was going to ask you real quick about each one of them, too, with Kyle. What are things you like about his game, and what are things you still like to see him maybe improve at his last year here?
He's an engine that doesn't stop running. When he hits empty, there's a reserve there that I think any coach would love every one of his kids to have. And, that's what makes him a special player for us. He's not what I would describe as a technically, he's not a brilliantly gifted player, but it's his work rate that creates so much. He creates turnovers on the defensive side of the ball, and he knows he's fearless going forward. And if he makes a mistake, he lets it go. He doesn't sit there and dwell on it, and that's something that I think, just makes him such a key component to what we do. We've asked him to take on some additional leadership responsibilities. We had our final preseason scrimmage on Sunday against St. Mike's, and we did not have a great first 45 minutes. And I pulled him over at one point, and I said, hey, this is where the guys are now looking to you to see how you react. And we stayed positive. We stayed with it. We got into the second half, and we pulled back 2 goals within 15 minutes. But it was, it's that composure component that we're looking for him to maintain and show our younger guys that, things are going to get tough sometimes. So, Junior is the quiet joker within the team. He'll just sit there kind of quietly, and then he'll get you with a one-liner, and you're, where'd that come from? But he's, when he talks, he commands respect. The guys listen to him. The thing that I like best about him as a forward is he's just always in the right spot. You can teach kids, you can give them fitness, and you can give them things to improve their first touch and their passing. You can't teach kids instinctually to always be in the right spot. And we always pick on Junior about how he doesn't do any of the work on his goals. He just cleans up everybody else's mess. But he's always in the right spot. And, as we look for him to step into his senior year, we're looking for him to do a little bit more with regards to helping us in the build-up of the play instead of just being the finishing guy, but also doing a little bit more on the setup side this year.
That should be, well,